Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Charanga Yakupatiage. I'm with the Center for Reproductive Rights. Thank you so much for joining us today. We just wanted to get everyone together to make some space for our attorneys and plaintiffs to say a few words and to take any questions. As you'll see during this trial, a lot of folks have been impacted by Idaho's abortion bans, and so we have a lot of folks speaking with us here today. We're gonna first hear from Gail Deady, who's our lead attorney on the case, followed by plaintiffs Jennifer Adkins, Jillaine St, Michel, Kayla Smith. You're also going to hear from Nicole Miller, who is here supporting the case, who faced similarly harrowing experience of serious and dangerous pregnancy complications. You'll also hear from Dr. Pyrak, who is the president of the Idaho Academy of Family Physicians. So I'm going to now pass it to Gail.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Gail Deady. I'm a senior staff attorney at the Center for Reproductive Rights and the lead attorney in Adkins v. Idaho, which was brought on behalf of Idaho Women Denied Abortions, several Idaho doctors, and the Idaho Academy of Family Physicians. There is no doubt that Idaho's extreme abortion bans are wreaking havoc across the state. The people standing with me today are living proof of the harms and anguish that these laws are causing. Across the state, pregnant people facing threats to their health and their lives are being refused care. They are forced to choose between carrying doomed pregnancies at great risk to themselves or travel hundreds of miles from their home state if they are able to. And why? Because doctors are being threatened with jail time for practicing basic medicine. Because the so-called exceptions in these laws do not work, both in Idaho and across the country. Abortion is standard and essential health care. The stories of Jennifer, Jillaine, Kayla, and Rebecca make that crystal clear, and more heart-wrenching stories like theirs are surfacing every day. But the state has turned their backs on Idahoans. They have refused to give doctors the guidance that they need to care for their patients. They have doubled down on restricting access to abortion even in the direst circumstances. People across the country are dying because of these bans. And without clarity on these laws, only more people will die. We cannot let this stand. So we are asking the court to put a stop to the agony. The court must protect pregnant Idahoans and give doctors clarity on what circumstances qualify as exceptions. We are simply asking the state to allow doctors to use their own medical judgment without fear of prosecution. I will now hand it over to Jennifer Adkins.
In early spring of 2023, my husband John and I were overjoyed to be expecting our second baby. All of our excitement over this family expansion, however, turned into heartbreak when we learned at a routine 12-week ultrasound that our baby had a fatal condition and that we would never bring her home. Our quiet family tragedy quickly turned into a complicated trauma when we learned that my own health was also at risk the longer I continued the pregnancy, and that despite these risks to my health and potentially to my life, I could not receive the essential abortion care I needed in that moment in my home state of Idaho. Instead of grieving the loss of our baby with family and friends, we were forced to scramble and travel to find care that I needed to protect my health and abortion in a neighboring state. So we grieved the loss of our daughter alone and had to leave the medical team that we had grown to love and trust through our previous pregnancy. Often I'm asked why my case doesn't fall under the so-called exceptions in Idaho law. Our doctors need more clarity on if and when they can provide abortion care, which is a standard and safe medical procedure that is the standard of care for many pregnancy complications. Instead, they are forced to delay and deny abortion care to their patients in crisis. That is why I'm bringing this lawsuit forward with the other brave patient and physician plaintiffs. We are all here to tell you it is no longer safe to be pregnant in Idaho. Something has to change. No one should be forced to wait and suffer or flee their homes to receive urgent and life and health-preserving medical care. My hope is to see a day where all Idahoans can make informed decisions with their providers and receive the care they need when they need it right here in Idaho. Thank you.
My name is Jillaine St. Michel. 2 years ago, here in Boise, my husband Brandon and I experienced the most heartbreaking and difficult challenge of our lives. We learned at our 20-week ultrasound that our longed-for second pregnancy, a sister for our daughter, had so many insurmountable skeletal and organ issues that she could not survive. There was no option for us that would lead to a healthy baby. But because of Idaho's cruel abortion bans, instead of mourning our loss at home with family and friends, we had to figure out how to scramble to get out of state, how to pay for it, and how to travel with a toddler to receive the essential medical care that I desperately needed in that moment, an abortion that would keep me physically and emotionally healthy. It was health care that the elected officials of Idaho have deemed illegal. I was turned away, and we three had to quickly flee like criminals to another state, and were lucky to find care in the compassionate state of Washington. When we heard about this case, we knew that I had to join, to fight so that other Idaho families wouldn't have to suffer the way we did, to try and be catalysts for change. Along the way, including today, we have relived our most harrowing and intimate and painful experiences in public. We know that telling our stories will help more Idahoans be aware of and not fall victim to the very real and dangerous residual effects of this inhumane and cruel law. Since the abortion bans went into effect, we've seen many of the most highly qualified obstetrical doctors leaving the state. We've seen an increase in women being life-flighted to other states for urgently needed care. And we've felt how women's health and lives have been devalued and put at risk in Idaho. My life, my ability to parent my firstborn daughter, my future fertility was in jeopardy. No woman should have to question in their worst moments whether they can get the urgent medical care they need. No woman should ever have to question whether the provider in front of her is willing to put their career at risk to help save her life. And no one should have to feel this inconsequential or devalued by their own state. Not ever. Thank you.
My name is Kayla Smith, and I never imagined I would be standing here today in front of all of you alongside these incredible women in this time, grieving not only the loss of our pregnancies, but also the loss of our bodily autonomy and right to self-determination. I'm here because I too was personally harmed by the abortion bans in Idaho. These insidious laws made our heartbreaking situation so much worse. When my husband and I found out that our expected son had several fatal fetal conditions, 2 days after Idaho's trigger ban went into effect, no one could help us in this state. These laws are not allowing our doctors to treat us with compassion or to offer us the standard of medical care for the dire situations we find ourselves in. As a result, we are being denied care and turned away, left on our own to find appropriate and humane treatment elsewhere. This is not how humans should treat other humans. Although my husband and I made the difficult decision to leave Idaho because of the lack of care I received here, I have come back today to fight this fight in hopes that no one else in this state has to go through what Idaho laws put us through. Thank you.
I'm Nicole Miller. I'm here in solidarity with the strong women patients and the doctors who are suing Idaho to clarify and change its inhumane abortion bans. Maybe you can imagine my shock and terror when a year ago, in the midst of my third pregnancy, while leaking amniotic fluid and hemorrhaging blood from a placental abruption, I had to be strapped to a gurney and airlifted in a small plane from an Idaho hospital over to Utah for a life-saving medical care. During that long day, I was so scared and confused, and I could not fathom what was so special about a Utah hospital that they had the machinery or expertise that 2 hospitals in Idaho near my suburban Boise home could not provide me. I just didn't get it. It was incomprehensible. I was in my home state, standing in front of doctors who knew exactly what to do and how to help me, but I was still turned away. Everyone we encountered during my OB emergency that day vaguely kept blaming the laws in Idaho without naming them. By then, I couldn't stop thinking that I may never see my girls again, who were 5 and 8. I called my mom and had her rush over so I could hug them and kiss them and say goodbye before I left Idaho. At that point, terrified, I still didn't know what treatment I desperately needed to save my own life and to continue to be a healthy mom, wife, sister, and daughter to those I love. I know now what I needed was an abortion, a simple, essential procedure. Having an abortion that day in Utah saved my life. They called it a D&E, but really, it's an abortion, my life-saving abortion.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Crystal Pyrak, and I am the current president of the Idaho Academy of Family Physicians. I first want to say thank you to these really brave patients behind us who are trying to help us make Idaho a safer place for all pregnant women. The Idaho Academy of Family Physicians represents over 800 physician members across the state. As physicians, we are dedicated to providing the best possible care for our patients. But now our work to care for our patients is made so much harder by Idaho abortion bans. As written, Idaho's current abortion bans are unclear. They rely on non-medical language that confuses doctors and limits our ability to make the best treatment decisions in consultation with our patients. For this reason, the IFP has joined with patients and other doctors as plaintiffs in a legal challenge to Idaho's abortion bans, represented by the Center for Reproductive Rights in Adkins versus the state of Idaho. What we are asking and advocating for are clear and workable medical exceptions that allow physicians to use their best medical judgment and intervene to treat our patients as we are trained to do, ensuring that the health and safety of pregnant patients are always prioritized. Without the ability to act quickly and provide the standard of medical care for each unique patient situation, we risk long-term health consequences, including loss of future fertility for pregnant patients in Idaho. This issue is particularly urgent in our rural regions of our state, where many families are already facing shortage to access to OB-GYN specialists. In these areas, the nearest emergency care can be hours away, putting even more lives at risk. It is long past time to bring more clarity and flexibility to Idaho's laws to allow doctors to act in the best interest of their patients, based on their medical training and expertise, without fear of legal or criminal consequences. As a family physician myself who delivers babies, I can tell you that my priority is always the health and well-being of my patient. Laws written by politicians that interfere with the physician-patient relationship should never stand in the way of a doctor providing the standard of care of each patient for each patient's needs for their unique circumstance. With this lawsuit, I am hopeful that we can all work together to ensure that Idaho mothers and babies have access to the best, the safest, and the timely care they all deserve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. We're going to open it up to questions now. So if you have a question, please state your name and which outlet you're with. So floor is open. So the question is, what was it like to be on the stand to testify in front of the judge in the court? One of the patient plaintiffs, Jen?
I think I speak for all of the patient plaintiffs that putting our most intimate and devastating experience that we've been through as a family out for public display is incredibly challenging. But as the others have stated, we're doing it because we want to make a difference and we want positive change out of this. We don't want other families to have to experience the heartbreak and the trauma that we experienced. So being up on that stage is, putting us again through that trauma, reliving that trauma that we've been through. But I think we do it because we want it to help others and make it better for others.
Thank you, Jen. Anything else?